building with strong odors of garbage. You are sweating uncontrollably. You pass rooms that are closet-sized boxes with thin strips of fabric as doors. As you pass these rooms, you hear moaning and shrieking. Young women are lying on thin pieces of foam as mattress. These rooms are called brothels. Brothels are a house where men can visit prostitutes. They are a common place where young girls are enslaved. Typically, young girls, even as little as 10 years old, are forced to service men in brothels. These young girls and women are often promised jobs, stolen from their families, or sold by loved ones for as little as $10. Human trafficking is a trade most commonly for the purpose of sexual exploitation. Human trafficking has many unknown elements, such as the people allowing it to continue and involved in this phenomenon, the sex workers' lives, and the history behind it. Human trafficking has been in existence across the globe for thousands of years, from the ancient Greek and Romans to the medieval times, and up until today, humans have been subject to various forms of sex slavery. There are many arguments about when it began. Some say that the slave trade in which Africans were captured by slave traders and shipped across the Atlantic to the Americas was the first human trafficking. Others argue that the forced labor of children during the 1700s was the real beginning of what is now known as human trafficking. The British were the first to make a law against slavery in 1807, when they passed the law that made the transatlantic slave trade illegal. In 1820, the United States followed Great Britain's example by making a slave trade a crime that was punishable by death. In 1863, Abraham Lincoln gave an executive order for the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that slaves be set free immediately. However, complete freedom was not guaranteed. 161 countries around the world are affected by human trafficking. Today, it is estimated that in India alone, there are over 2.8 million people trafficked each year, and more than 70% of these people are women, and half of them are children. 800,000 people are trafficked across international borders each year, and only 100 of these victims are ever rescued. Typically in India, the prices for the slaves are low due to their social structures and cultural customs. The going rate for a young girl to be sold at in India is 700 rupees, $12 US. Poverty is the underlying issue that causes human trafficking. Traffickers act on a chance for lucrative profit and entice women and children to a more appealing lifestyle. Traffickers identify vulnerable women in a community and entertain notions of a better life for them and their families. These people are more susceptible to being victimized if they are in vulnerable regions of poverty-stricken areas. Usually, women view sex as their only way out to a new life and out of the cycle of exploitation and their poverty circumstances. In the countries where human trafficking is the most prevalent, it is not being stopped because of the profit. Governments and authorities often turn their heads and collect bribes from pimps in order to allow it to continue. The total illegal profit for human trafficking is over $32 billion. The government is so profitable that governments do not want to put an end to it. Trafficking for sexual exploitation is one of the fastest growing organized crimes across the world, generating $27.8 billion each year. It is easy to see why governments quickly turn their heads, because it is so lucrative for the economy. Human trafficking remains a serious problem because it is so profitable. It involves every layer of society and beyond. From taxi drivers to corrupt policemen to pimps and mafia members to banks and political leaders. Even business owners are intertwined in this market. Human trafficking has many unknown elements that were described in my speech today, which were the people allowing it to continue and involved in this phenomenon, the sex workers' lives, and the history behind it. Human trafficking is a crime against humanity. It involves an act of recruiting, transferring, harboring, or receiving a person through a use of force, fraud, coercion, or other means, for for the purpose of exploiting them for labor or sex. Every year, thousands of men, women, and children fall into the hands of traffickers in their own countries and abroad. You may choose to look the other way, but you can never say that you did not know. Thank you.